Empire was the greatest empire the world has ever witnessed.
At its height, it covered a quarter of the Earth's surface, and Britons could proudly claim that the sun never sets on the British Empire. But after World War II, the empire rapidly diminished into a small number of islands and outposts around the world as the larger colonies got their independence. So what was left?
News has come in from the New World, where the English flag is flying over Newfoundland, just because Humphrey Gilbert has just landed.
In 1583, Humphrey Gilbert sailed across the Atlantic Ocean to discover new lands for Queen Elizabeth I.
It was a perilous journey, and it took many months, and the conditions aboard ships were dire. Humphrey died on the return journey.
I proudly claim this land for England.
So the British Empire is off to a cracking start.
Over the years, the empire grew. Egypt, Canada, India, Australia and New Zealand were all on the list of British colonies. Even more were added after the First World War, in which Britain was helped by many of the colonies. But suddenly, the Second World War started. Britain and the Empire declared war on Nazi Germany and Italy. The Allies won the war, but the colonies that had once been Britain's pride realised that they could stand on their own feet. One by one they went, and Britain could not hold on to them. By the year 2000, all that was left of the empire were a few small islands.
The empire that once covered a quarter of the Earth's surface had disappeared in half a century. But what's left of it? If you look closely, you can see the huge impact the empire had on the world. As you can see, these people are playing cricket. Cricket was invented in England, and when the colonists and settlers went out to the new lands, they brought their sports with them, and cricket was not the only one.
Football, rugby, golf, Xbox. All of these sports that were invented and played in the UK are now played all over the world, thanks to the British Empire. Maybe not the Xbox.
I played football all the time before I sailed to America to start a new life. When we got there, we started to play it again. I heard this is happening in other places as well in the world. It's a great way for sports to get spread around the world.
Sport wasn't the only part of the empire's legacy.
Nowadays, this is a common scene. The trial of someone accused of a crime. But many countries before they were part of the empire had a completely different system, such as trials by ordeal. Most countries use the British system of judiciary now. Some of the countries that use this system are India, the USA, Pakistan, Nigeria, Bangladesh, Canada, Malaysia, Ghana, Australia, Sri Lanka, Hong Kong, Singapore, Ireland, New Zealand, Jamaica, Trinidad and Tobago, Cyprus, Barbados, South Africa, Zimbabwe, Cameroon, Namibia, Botswana, Guyana and Israel. That's 25 countries.
Apples. I think that this is one of the most important parts of the British Empire, because the world would be a very unjust place without a fair trial system. I think that this is one of the most important parts of the British Empire, because the world would be a very unjust place without a fair trial system. Countries would be very corrupt and people would be sent to prison for very minor crimes.
What do we do that the USA, France, Germany, Canada, Italy and many more don't do? We drive on the left!
We have done so for hundreds of years, and so do many of our former colonies. That's why South Africa, Australia, India and some others drive on the left, even though the majority of countries drive on the right. But many road accidents are caused by drivers in a different country accidentally driving on the wrong side of the road. So countries such as Australia have installed signs to track accidents.
Here are some of the signs that are used in countries such as Australia that drive on the left, so that foreign drivers don't get confused.
In 1600, the British founded the East India Company. This would go on to start the most important parts of the British Empire. It was given powers by the British government and was given a large army to use. Its main aims were to establish trading between the British and locals. So how were the British so successful? The answer is that they had more men. Their trick was to go to the place that they had conquered, recruit lots of local men, and form special battalions with them.
During the Second World War, colonial troops played a great part in the fighting against the Germans and Japanese. After the war, many of them decided to come over and live in the UK, as it was seen to be a land of great opportunity. That is why the UK is such a multicultural society.
So Daniel, tell us about your family historical past with the colonial Britain.
Well, basically, my grandfather came over in 1954 from India to train as a teacher in Enfield. If it wasn't for him, I probably wouldn't be here. And then my family settled in London in Walthamstow.
The British Empire is now officially gone. It is now called the British Overseas Territories, but the spirit of it still remains, especially in music. Every year the BBC proms end with patriotic music, Rule Britannia, Pomp and Circumstance and others. This music reflects the pride that the British feel about their empire.